Imagine buying your kid a toy only to find the batteries aren't included, or buying furniture but it's missing the tools to build it. Frustrating, right? Now imagine that exact same feeling, but you're paying way more. That is what buying business software usually feels like: fragmented, disconnected, and incredibly expensive. Odoo completely changes that. Odoo is a complete, fully integrated business suite where all your apps actually talk to each other. We're talking automated lead routing for your sales team, seamless AI integration, and an intuitive point-and-click website builder. It's everything your business needs to scale, saving you time, headaches, and money. Stop piecing your software together. Go to odoo.com. That's ODOO.com to learn more.
Oh yeah, look at my life. Hey now, hey now, yeah.
Hey now.
Oh yeah, look at my life out here on the road. Oh yeah, look at my life. Hey now, yeah. Oh yeah, look at my life out here on the road.
Hey now! How you doing, friends? Welcome to Scott Fox After 9. This week is absolutely cooking. There is a lot going on. I'm here to tell you that this week, you're going to get a Silent Date update. I had dinner with the Silent Date couple just a couple of weeks ago in beautiful downtown Burlington, Ontario, and they're doing so great. But man, I've got some great stories to tell you in a Silent Date update that is going to come out before the week is up. And if you want to get caught up on the entire Silent Date series, there is a Spotify playlist that is just the podcast episodes that talk about the Silent Date couple. That is available in Spotify. Just search for the Silent Date updates and you can hear the entire backstory before I do this update later on in the week. I've also got a special guest that's going to join me, and I think this one is going to be on the Thursday episode. He is the former Conservative Party of Canada justice critic. He is a former Crown prosecutor and, in my estimation, a wonderful member of Parliament. He is the MP for Brantford Six Nations. Larry Brock is going to join me on the pod later on this week, and we're going to be talking about crime, among other things, but crime in particular. One of the reasons I've asked Larry to come on is because you've likely heard that our Liberal government finally passed some reforms in the justice system. Well, it still seems like the crime is basically out of control. So I want to find out from Larry, what did the Liberals pass? And what did they pass on in the way of conservative amendments that could have possibly strengthened the legislation and helped solve our crime problem? I firmly believe in jail, not bail. I don't think violent repeat offenders should be on our streets, but it seems like they're getting out more and more often, and they're emboldened. You know, when they get out as quickly as they're getting out, that makes them want to commit more crime. There's no incentive to not. So we're going to talk to Larry later on this week. That's going to be a great episode. I also promised you that I would give you an update on my schedule. We're coming up into August, the long weekend now just around the corner, and I've decided that I'm going to take the majority of August off. I need a break. It's good for all of us to take a break, especially when it comes to politics and current events and discussing them daily. So I'm going to take a little break. Next week, no new pods. There might be 1 or 2 episodes in August, depending on what lands in my lap. But either way, I'm planning to take most of August off. And then around the long weekend, Labor Day, I will be back with brand new episodes of Scott Fox After 9 right through for the rest of the year. So stick around all this week. You should be checking into the pod because I've got some amazing stuff to play for you. And I'm going to start by doing that right now. This episode is brought to you by thecaulkingstore.com. The Caulking Store is where you go if you need caulking, sealant, etc. They're real great guys, and they are good, loyal sponsors of the Scott Fox After 9 podcast. They really are the experts right on the border of Mississauga and Etobicoke. That would be west end of Toronto at Renforth and the 401. Repairs are expensive, so make sure you do it right the first time. And if you need any advice or input, these guys are great at the Caulking Store. You can go in, or you can just go to the website and shop online. They have convenient delivery. They offer a senior's discount, a contractor's discount, and a whole lot more. I love working with them, and I think you will too. Thecaulkingstore.com brings you this episode of the pod. I want to play for you now a little bit of the mayor of Toronto, Olivia Chow. This is Olivia Chow speaking yesterday with police behind her. She's talking about the latest shooting at the U.S. Embassy. Listen to this.
This morning I spoke to the Minister of Public Safety, and we pledge to continue to work closely together to aid both moves the illegal American guns off our street, and two, to bring those that are responsible to justice and prevent other shootings.
Did you hear that at the end? Somebody driving by yelled, "Olivia Chow sucks." It's hard to disagree with that sentiment, but let's talk about what the mayor said. She has reached out to the public safety minister. Again, she's going to try and make this seem like it's an American issue when it's actually a Canadian issue. Again, for the second time in a few months, somebody pulled out a firearm and shot at the U.S. Embassy. Who's doing this? The speculation is that it's some sort of a guns for hire program. They're using young people to commit the crimes. By the way, this is another thing that I warned you was going to happen, and I did that like 2 years ago. When the economy is bad, crime thrives. Because here in Canada, we have the Youth Criminal Justice Act, and there's really no meaningful consequences for a young person who commits a crime. It's very advantageous for the gangbangers to recruit young people, and they can flash not even that much money in front of them. Any amount of money is a lot of money to a kid. You flash some money in front of them, tell them to go and do something, and if they get caught, the consequences aren't that meaningful anyway. It looks like that's what happened here. Who paid them to do it? Who is it that has that much of a beef with the Americans? Or who is it that wants us to have beef with the Americans? Somebody paid somebody to go and fire a shot at the U.S. Embassy. And by the way, that just a day after, 2 Jewish bakeries got shot up as well in Toronto. There is a massive anti-Semitism problem in Toronto. I don't know what problem it is that's making people shoot at the embassy, but there's a big problem. Do the guns come from America? Yeah, absolutely. But it was Canadians that imported those guns into Toronto. It's not like the Americans packed a few boxes full of firearms, sent them up here and said, have at it and start shooting each other. When Olivia Chow does something like try and link American guns to our gun problem, it's still a Canadian problem. It's Canadians doing the shooting. It's Canadians that ordered those guns. I think it's very dishonest of the mayor to even imply that this is an American problem. It's a Canadian problem, and it's one we've got to deal with.
Early this morning, a shot was fired at a U.S. consulate. This is when there is a police cruiser with the lights flashing right in front of it. It's a brazen attack. I want to thank the Toronto Police and RCMP and other federal agencies that are working very closely together to solve this crime and hopefully prevent future ones. They have my full support. I want to say to the person or persons responsible, we will get you. We have apprehended the previous shooters, all 3 of them, and we will bring you to justice. You will be held accountable. I have full confidence that our police and with all federal public safety agencies.
Olivia Chow talking tough. We will find you and we will arrest you. I don't know how scared the criminals are, but yeah, police are looking into it. It's a weird one because there was a cop outside the embassy when the shots got fired. There was a cop right there. Heard the shots, went looking to figure out what was going on, saw the car speeding away, and was able to radio to another unit that was in that direction, follow the white Honda Civic. Well, the car got on the Don Valley Parkway. That is an expressway in Toronto that runs north-south. And apparently speeds reached 140 kilometers an hour. And that's when Toronto police decided, boy, oh boy, $140, too fast for us. We're going to let them go. I don't know why they did that. I don't know where the Toronto police and York Region Police and Durham Police and Halton Police and Peel Police helicopters were, but apparently there wasn't any air support available. Hey, I don't want to see public safety jeopardized to try and catch bad guys. I really don't. Innocent people could be hurt in a high-speed chase. I just don't know how high speed 140 kilometers an hour is. Seems like the police gave up a little easy in my estimation, but they made the judgment call. I wasn't there, so we'll defer to them. Why wasn't there air support available? You know, in addition to Toronto, there's many other police forces in the greater Toronto Hamilton area. Many of them have a helicopter. You mean to tell me not one of them had a bird in the sky that they could have said, hey, we're on the Don Valley Parkway. We're going northbound towards Don Mills. We need air support because we're going to have to call off this chase soon. Helicopter can follow the car wherever it goes. Why didn't that happen? That to me is a strange one, and it makes me wonder, why are we spending so much money buying helicopters, paying for pilots and maintenance and fuel if they're not in the air when we need them? That's a strange one. But the mayor did mention the public safety minister, Gary Anandasangri. Let's hear what he has to say about these shootings.
The horrific incidents in the city of Toronto involving two bakeries, Kiwa's Bagel Bar, that were hit over the weekend, as well as what appears to be gunfire at the U.S. Consul General's office on University Avenue. These acts are horrific. They shake our values to the core.
Doesn't exactly sound like a beacon of hope, does he? Doesn't exactly sound like that reassuring tone that I think Canadians want to hear in being assured that our streets are safe. That's the guy in charge of public safety, and he can barely spit out his statement. He read half of it. I don't know what we're doing here anymore, guys, but we've got a big problem. We've got more targeted gunfire attacks on Jewish-owned businesses, and for a second time in a few months, shots fired at the U.S. consulate in Toronto. This is a big problem that requires serious actions. If it were me, I think we should have a conversation about maybe what we do when we catch the person who fired those shots. Maybe they should be extradited to America. Maybe they should face the American justice system. And I'll tell you something, the Americans don't have a whole lot of time for people that are shooting at them. Maybe that would be a deterrent. By the way, the public safety minister was also talking about another scandal that is unfolding under this Liberal government. A Chinese Canadian who was working as an intern at NATO headquarters in Belgium has been apprehended and accused of spying. An actual spy, a Canadian, spying on NATO. And apparently sharing what they learned with some country, although they haven't said which country yet. Here's, again, the public safety minister.
NATO interns are usually vetted by member countries. What does it say about CSIS and RCMP vetting processes now that a Canadian has been accused on spying on NATO?
What I don't want to do is speculate on this specific case. I do acknowledge that there was a recent arrest in Belgium involving an intern with NATO who was a Canadian national. As a country, we will continue to investigate the processes we have and the security screening. It is an ongoing work that we do, and in this particular case, I think it's important to get to the bottom of what happened, and that is a commitment that we make to you today.
Confident that the alleged spy has not worked for another Canadian government department and has not passed on information to a hostile foreign government?
What I will say is that the allegations that have been made are quite serious. Canadian law enforcement and Canadian authorities are continuously monitoring and will monitor the impact of the work this individual has done, if they have done any work in Canada. But ultimately, we need to get to the bottom of this, and we need to ensure that these types of incidents do not occur in the future.
To make sure they don't occur in the future, I don't think the public safety minister really understands how serious this is. We were in charge of vetting the people that we sent to intern at NATO headquarters. NATO headquarters. And we sent a spy in there. An actual spy who wanted to feed information to a foreign government. That cannot be allowed to stand. The public safety minister here is so laissez-faire about this, and I don't understand where the sense of urgency is. This is a serious national security concern. First off, we have spies here in Canada that want to work against our national interest. And one of them managed to get an internship through the Canadian government at NATO. Come on. You got to admit, that's crazy that's even a thought that could happen. And it's going on. It's scary stuff. I want to play something else for you now. Joe Biden, former president of the United States of America. New audio recordings have been released into the public realm, and Joe Biden has fought for years to keep these tapes private. CBS News says they received 2 hours of audio recordings from roughly 70 hours of tapes, cited in the 2024 Special Counsel's report, which said Joe Biden kept volumes of notes at his home that included classified information. Why is this important? Well, the Biden administration went after Donald Trump hard, accused him of having classified information that wasn't secure and was stored at his house instead of in the National Archives or at the White House or what have you. Turns out Joe Biden may have done the exact same thing. Here is some of that audio recording.
This was a big meeting with the CIA and everyone on... It was
that a July meeting?
I don't know. It looks like it is. It says I changed pens, so it's got to be after the 17th of June, and then it's a long meeting where DoD brief at DoD POTUS. Air Force 2, 2:30 p.m. There was a big meeting down in the Situation Room. It would have been. Some of this may be classified, so be careful.
Okay.
I'm not sure. It's not more classified, but I just found all the classified stuff downstairs. I wrote the president a handwritten 40-page memorandum.
Wow. He's actually talking about the fact that he has classified information that is not stored securely. What do we do now? Because President Trump, the whole time, the Department of Justice and so on were going after him. After he left office, Joe Biden's administration aggressively tried to get Donald Trump on anything they could. They tried everything, including classified documents. They raided his home at Mar-a-Lago. They went through Melania's closet and Barron's closet. It was gross how aggressively they went after him, but they said, you got to do this. We have to, even though he's an ex-president, because we have to take national security matters seriously. Will the same standard be applied to Joe Biden? And will the people who cheered on the prosecution of Donald Trump also cheer on the prosecution of Joe Biden? It looks like that's the way this is going to have to go. If we're being fair, if you're being objective, if they did it to one, it's fair to do it to the other. Some people will say this is Donald Trump abusing his office to go after his political enemies. I mean, if the standard is that if you're keeping classified information in your home, not secured safely, then you've committed a crime, then it would appear Joe Biden has also committed a crime. That audio courtesy of CBS News.
This Monday.com ad was created by a team of people and AI agents. The agents wrote the copy and managed the timelines, while our human creative director made sure it all made sense. Easy. Create your own AI agent today on Monday.com.
Let's keep moving on. Megyn Kelly talking to RFK Jr. about Dr. Anthony Fauci. Dr. Fauci is going to be testifying, I believe, tomorrow, but it might even be today, in front of a congressional committee. He's going to be doing that even though he was granted blanket retroactive immunity for stuff that we don't even know if he actually did or didn't do by Joe Biden when Joe Biden was on his way out of the White House. A blanket pardon for Dr. Anthony Fauci. Okay, well, now they've kind of figured out a hack. The government still has a lot of questions about what Dr. Fauci was doing with taxpayer money. Was he funding gain of function research? Did he really have any science to back up the draconian anti-COVID measures that he imposed on America and by default on the world? Or was there something else at play? He may have blanket immunity, but some new documents have come to light. We're learning a little bit more about the COVID era and Dr. Fauci's involvement in it. So what they're going to do is they're going to bring in Dr. Fauci and they're going to ask him questions on July the 29th, 2026. Then they're going to compare it to what they found. While Dr. Fauci may have presidential immunity, if he lies about what went on previously, he'll have committed another crime. It's Senator Rand Paul that is going after Dr. Fauci here. And frankly, I want to see where it goes. I have no sympathy whatsoever for Dr. Fauci if something nefarious was going on with COVID. Let me play for you a little bit of this interview between RFK Jr. and Megyn Kelly.
Tony Fauci's problem is this. There's a little known federal law that says you cannot give an emergency use authorization to a vaccine if there is any medication approved for any purpose that is shown effective against the target disease. So if Tony Fauci or anybody had admitted that hydroxychloroquine or ivermectin are effective against COVID, it would have been illegal for them to give the emergency use authorizations to the vaccines, and they could never have gotten them approved. And it would have been, a 200 billion enterprise that would have collapsed.
That is fascinating. I mean, I have been covering this very closely now for all of the 2 years. That's the first I've heard that. I mean, in your book. So he would not have gotten emergency use authorization for the vaccine if the medical community had been saying ivermectin works. It is an effective treatment for COVID.
Well, the medical community, a lot of it was saying that. I mean, there's 17,000 doctors who've signed a petition, and there are so many peer-reviewed publications now that consistently say that, but he had to aggressively crusade against it to kind of drown out those reports by saying it's a horse medication, it's, people are taking it and it's dangerous and it's overdosing people. And,
well, why did he keep saying it? Why did he keep saying it after he got his authorization?
Well, even if you have the emergency use authorization, the law appears to say you can't have it anymore if there's a functioning medication. So, that may be why. Again, I try not to look in his head, but I do. There's a very, very strong incentive for him to kill ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine.
Okay, let's go back. Let's recap. You will probably recall early into COVID, people were very, very worried about this novel coronavirus and they wanted to avoid getting it. But they also wanted to know that if they did get it, there would be a treatment. We knew back then hydroxychloroquine, I hope I'm saying that right, hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin were effective treatments. But what RFK Jr. was saying there is there's a law in the books that if there's an effective medication that's already out there, you can't grant emergency authorization to the vaccine. And the vaccine was worth over $200 billion. We all know how much money got spent on that vaccine, and we all know how aggressively they tried to put that in people's arms. How many people died during COVID that could have been saved with hydroxychloroquine and with ivermectin? How many people could have been saved? But they didn't want that out there, because then they wouldn't have the excuse to stick the vaccine in millions and millions and millions of arms around the world. Why did they want that shot in us so badly? And not just one dose, not just 2 doses. They also went after the boosters and things like that until finally the public said, you know what? Enough is enough. We're not doing this anymore. There's a lot of sinister stuff that happened around COVID. We are entitled to answers. And frankly, I'm very happy that they're now going to reopen this and go after Dr. Fauci. There's reports, and they're not proven yet, but there's reports that COVID was imported to America from a lab in Wuhan. We also had some strange connections between a virology lab in Winnipeg We had some scientists that were working there that got fired and expelled back to China, but we never got any serious response from our government. How involved or not involved was the Winnipeg lab? What were those two scientists up to? Did the Winnipeg lab have anything to do with creating or distributing COVID-19? These are all questions that it's totally fair to wonder about. Justin Trudeau was the prime minister in this era. He was the prime minister when those two scientists got expelled. Why was there no comment from him on that? We've always been told, no, it's national security. We can't talk about it. Seems to me there's something there, and I want to know. I lived through COVID just like you did. I felt the range of emotions. It started off as fear. Then it started to get very cynical when they really tried to push those jabs. And now we know that maybe they shouldn't even have had authorization for those jabs because we already had therapeutics available in hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin. We need more answers. I'm going to be following this Dr. Anthony Fauci stuff very, very closely. My friends, you probably already know, here in Canada, we do not get news on Meta platforms. You can get it on X. I'm not sure about TikTok, but definitely not on Meta. That is because the federal government created the Online News Act, and they wanted to make sure that the social media platforms were paying millions upon millions upon millions of dollars to the legacy media in Canada. They wanted to do that, and they used the most insane excuse. They tried to argue that if you read a news article on, say, ctvnews.ca, and you share that article for your friends and followers on Facebook, somehow Facebook was profiting from CTV's news content. Now, I would make the case that was actually really good for CTV News. When people are sharing the article, it's great exposure for them, and they can monetize those clicks. Well, they wanted to shake down the big tech giants, and Meta stood up and said, no. Tell you what, rather than pay, if you guys want to dig in your heels on this, we'll just not allow news at all on our platforms. We've gone through several elections now without people who spend the majority of their time on social media being able to get accurate information on the social network of their choice. There may be an update. The story is there's a proposal from Meta to the Canadian government that would allow news back on Meta platforms. Let's hear from Canada's Heritage Minister. This is Mark Miller.
Your government's reportedly sitting on a proposal from Meta to restore Canadian news on Facebook and Instagram. Are you considering exempting Meta from the Online News Act?
Again, I'm not going to talk about the discussions that are or are not occurring with Meta. What we have said all along is, as part of the Online News Act, sharing of news without proper communication is fair. It's not fair to organizations like yours, and you're asking them to pay their fair share for that. That's not any further because they are still they're probably not as advanced as being suggested, and the reality is.
And I'll just follow up with, will there be any attempt to repeal the Online News Act, the way that the digital services tax that angered Donald Trump?
Really, really hard to hear that audio. It was off mic, but at the end, he said no plans. No plans to repeal the Online News Act. They don't want to do that. That is, again, a major trade irritant with the Americans. They don't like it because they don't want Canada to start shaking down their digital tech giants to try and give the money to our legacy media. And frankly, as a member of the legacy media, I agree with them wholeheartedly. It's a preposterous argument that these tech giants should be paying the news companies because somebody shares a link to that news on the social media platform. I think it's completely crazy, and I am glad that common sense is starting to prevail. Good on Meta for digging in their heels and saying, no, we're not paying. In fact, we'll take news off of the platform before we pay. Friends, that's going to do it for me on this episode. I hope you have a fantastic Tuesday. The week is just getting started. Lots of great stuff is still to come. I'm going to be following the Dr. Fauci stuff. I'm going to be following the follow-up to the shootings in Toronto and a whole bunch more as this week unfolds. Have a great one. I'll catch you right back here tomorrow with another episode of Scott Fox After 9.